All right, good morning, Columbus. This is Curtis bringing to you live our Hump Day Trivia. I thought today I would do things a little old school and do classic 80s cartoon characters. I'll give you a moment here. Let's see if we get some people on. All right, we are going to get started and we're going to go from there. All right, so today's topic is classic 80s cartoon character trivia. This is the time I grew up, and Saturday morning cartoons were a real thing. If you wanted to watch cartoons, it definitely wasn't during the week. It was on the weekends only, and then normally Saturday, and they were done by noon. So, can you name these classic 80s cartoon characters? Time for a quick warm up. Let's get ourselves ready. Now, can you name this egocentric character and which cartoon did he star in? Alvin and the Chipmunks. Yes, that is Alvin from Alvin and the Chipmunks. They first appeared in a 1950s comic, originally created by Ross Bagdasarian Sr. When he recorded the song Witch Doctor on a variable speed tape recorder, he used his last $200 and bought a variable speed tape recorder to record this song, and it actually became a pretty big hit at the time. His first animated television appearance was in 1961 called The Alvin Show, and then after a long hiatus, came back on television in 1983 as Alvin and the Chipmunks. It has seen several reanimations since and even made it to the big screen in 1987 with The Chipmunk Adventure. And of course, we all know it nowadays as the CGI live action film, which some of them are quite funny, especially from adults with the humor that they put in there. All right, are you ready for the rest? Then sit back and prepare to stroll down memory lane, 80s style. Number 10. Now, these aren't in any particular order according to me, but I got them off a certain website. So, name this strongman. He did not originally start out as a cartoon character. Sgt Slaughter. Yeah, somebody's got a good link. Yep. He first appeared in the second season premiere episode, Arise, Serpentor Arise, Part 1. Yeah, he was the first real life personality to become part of Hasbro's G.I. Joe franchise. At the time, WWF had toys under a competitor, and Sgt. Slaughter had to leave wrestling to become a cartoon character. Which you'll notice that back in the 80s, he missed the first six WrestleManias because of this contract. The first Sgt. Slaughter G.I. Joe action figure debuted in 1985, and it was a mail order item that required five proof of purchases from G.I. Joe Toys. Hey, Brent, good to see you, sir. Yes, he was a hard but loving drill instructor to get the G.I. Joes back in shape to fight the new threat of Cobra. Name this blue haired mother of three. This cartoon started as an animated short. Bonus points if you know which show it debuted on. Boy, this is almost painful watching it on my phone. Nobody could rock a beehive like this lady. Go, Joe. Yes. You got the bonus points. Good job. Brett, you got it too. Yep, Marge Simpson. The Simpsons' first televised appearance originally aired on The Tracy Ullman Show on April 19th, 1987, which was titled The Simpsons Good Night, in which the parents, Marge and Homer, said goodnight to the kids. Their own television series did not debut until 1989. It is still the longest running animated television series in U.S. history. Is credited to have helped establish upstart Fox Network as a major competitor on broadcast television. Because before that, we only had three choices: ABC, NBC, and CBS. It was the first cartoon to appeal to an adult audience. It appealed so much that my mom did not want me to watch it when it first started, even though I was a 14 at the time, going on 15. Parents. All right, number 8. Name this humble blue fellow. Bonus points if you can name the spin-off series. I'm really testing you. Papa Smurf, good job, Tori. Got a mo. All right, Brent, see you later. Drink plenty of water. Yeah, good job, Tori. You got it. The Snorks. So, Papa Smurf, the Smurfs were created by a Belgian from Brussels by the pseudonym of Peyo. His real name was Pierre Gulliford in 1958. It first appeared as a figurine in 1965. So Peyo, he drew the series Johann and Pierre-Louis, where the Smurfs made their first appearance in print. They became so popular that they were given their own series. So popularity continued to grow, and by 1982, they traveled to Los Angeles, where Hanna-Barbera Studios, along with Peyo, filmed over 150 episodes of the animated series. It ran from 1982 to 1989 and became one of the longest running Saturday morning cartoons of the 80s. And their spin off, which was another beloved 80s series, was called The Storks, about a clan much like the Smurfs, but they lived underwater. And they had snorkels on the top of their heads. They helped them breathe. All right. Is that Indiana Jones? It was more of a 90s cartoon, but debuted in the 80s. Chip and Dale. That is, which one is it? Tori. You had a 50-50 chance of getting it right. Chip. There you go. Yes, it is Chip from Chippendale Rescue Rangers. A preview episode aired on August 27th, 1988, titled Catteries Not Included. Print's getting smaller, isn't it? The Rescue Rangers' first season began airing on March 4th, 1989, as the 2 hour movie special Rescue Rangers to the Rescue, which was later broken up into 5 parts to air during the weekday run. The show was a huge transformation for Chip and Dale from being supporting cast to heading a series on their own. It followed the typical Disney format of a gang of mismatched characters working together to solve problems, the embodiment of teamwork. The final episode aired on November 19th, 1990, but lived on in syndication for almost 15 years after. Got to be amazed at the way Disney can do that, is take a series and only do a limited run of episodes, but yet syndicate it for so long and get a lot of use out of it. It also had one of the catchiest theme songs ever. All right, number 6. Who is this girl? She was definitely the brains of the operation. I'll wait a little bit longer. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, Joe, Inspector Gadget Girl. Close enough. It was Penny from Inspector Gadget. It was created in 1983 and airing until 1986. Inspector Gadget was about a dim-witted, half-cyborg police detective. Penny and her dog Brain were the ones who always solved the crimes and rescued the inspector. Don Adams, who played Maxwell Smart in the 1965 to 70 television series Get Smart, did the voice actor work for the inspector. Cree Summer voiced Penny for season 1. She rose to fame on the show A Different World. Frank Welker, cartoon voice actor royalty, did the voice work for Brain and Dr. Claw. Inspector Gadget has had several reincarnations over the years, including 3 spin offs and 2 live action films. All right, number 5. Name this mischievous pair. They were perfect together. Cats. Yes, kinda. Wily Kit and Wily Cats. Dubbed the Thunder Kittens, Wily Kit and Wily Cat were royalty from Thundera before its destruction, and they are close in age with Lion-O. Their suspension capsules worked, Lion-O's did not. So when they arrived on the planet that they then called their home after Thundera was destroyed, obviously Lion-O and all the other ones were much older than Wily Kit and Wily Cat. Thundercats premiered in 1985 and ran until 1989. It's considered one of the most popular cartoons of the 80s and still has a massive cult following. To create the show, the character voices and music for each episode were recorded in the United States and sent with notes and direction to Japan to be animated, which was very typical of the time in the 80s. A lot of that was done. It was recorded, it was sent over to Japan, it was then animated and then sent back and then edited and put back together and put on the air. All right. This is the second egocentric cartoon character today. Bonus points if you know which other 80s cartoon character this actor voiced. Yes, Starscream. Any guess on the voice actor? Probably not. But I tell you, they sounded the same. So, yes, that is Starscream from the 80s animated show The Transformers. Uh, the original animated series ran from 1984 to 1987. Yes, only 3 years, and it's become a national phenomenon. This cartoon was inspired by the Diaclone toy line made by the company Takara Toys, launched in 1980. Chris Collins, close. Starscream was bent on taking over the Decepticons from the villainous Megatron, voiced by the famous Frank Welker. Little tidbit, they originally, in the first Transformers live action film that came out in the early 2000s, Frank Welker did the voice for Megatron, but they came back and redid the voice with what's his name from The Matrix, the FBI, the agent guy, Mr. Anderson, him guy. He did the voice for Megatron for the live action films. Chris Latta, who voiced Starscream, also supplied the voice for Cobra Commander from G.I. Joe. So now you can see here they kind of sounded very similar. He probably talked into the same voice modulator to change his voice. The original 80s cartoon is considered canon, and every rebirth, redesign, and spin-off sticks with the basic facts. The Transformers' home planet is Cybertron, the Autobots landed on Earth millions of years ago, and the human person that helps them has the last name of Witwicky. Every reiteration, every generation, those are the basic facts. Fans of the series are so adamant in their desires to maintain this canon that they petitioned for Peter Cullen to come back to voice Optimus Prime for all 5 live action movies. To me, Peter Cullen is the embodiment of Optimus Prime. Gives me chills every time I hear him talk. All right, number 3, you were totally tubular if you knew all 4 of these guys. Bonus points if you can name all 4, their leader, the main villain, and the famous news reporter that was always getting in trouble. I don't ask for much. Little side story. The only time I ever won the ring toss at Cedar Point here in Ohio, I won the orange turtle, a giant stuffed turtle. It was the best day of my life. I could never repeat that success. I had him for years too. I think my mom finally threw him out, but I digress. I know it's probably too much to type all that stuff out. Gary, welcome, Gary. 3, 2, 1. Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael. My oldest got 3 out of the 4. He didn't know anybody else. It started as a joke between two starving artists, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, in 1983, and it turned into a classic, and it turned into a comic book. Um, there are several similarities between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Marvel's Daredevil. The Turtles had Splinter, and that's a takeoff of Stick, who is the sensei of Daredevil. The Foot Clan is a takeoff of the Hand, which was the evil clan in Daredevil, and they both share the same origin story. Daredevil, of course, as a child, there was that accident with the truck carrying some sort of toxic ooze. It got on him and gave him that weird superpower um, where he could see through sound. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the canister bounced off the head of the boy and landed in the sewer on top of the turtles. That was a little neat tidbit I found. Let's see. Kevin and Peter were approached by Playmates in 1986 to make a toy line to go along with their comics. Part of the deal was to have an animated show. The creators had to soften their fighting turtles from a PG-13 to a G rating. I guess the comic got pretty violent as they were slicing and dicing through the hand. The creators, let's see, I already read that one. It debuted in 1987, but they had to air it 3 different times before it found an audience. But once they did, it ran from 1988 to 1996 for a total of 188 episodes. My younger brother was really into him at the time, and it was kind of a fun show to watch. The original artist sketch that started it all sold for $71,700 in May of 2012. There have been several variations and reincarnations of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and even a few live action movies over the years. Now, there is a really neat series on Netflix that talks about 80s cartoons and toys and stuff, and they interview both Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, and as of today, they're no longer friends, but it was very interesting. I would recommend binge watching that series if you haven't watched it already. It's got a lot of different good stuff in it. All right, number 2. This cartoon character was famous for saying, "If it's got wings, I can crash it." Bonus points if you know who he works for. This one's a tough one because he was actually in a couple different series, but he started in one first. Daffy Duck. Oh, come on now. That's not even the same animation studio. Good guess, though, Anthony. I'll give you credit for at least participation. Launchpad McQuack. He first appeared in the third episode of the pilot season of DuckTales. DuckTales, woo! Very catchy theme song in this one. It was described as a lovable doofus. He is a gentle giant and always completes the mission no matter how difficult, and does so with a calm and positive demeanor. Oh, I missed a letter on that one. I was getting tired last night. Let's see. It was created by the artist Carl Barks, known as the Good Duck Artist, back in the 1950s. Barks created the quarterly Uncle Scrooge series, which became the best-selling comic book of the 1960s. DuckTales debuted in 1987 and ended in 1990. A number of Barks' comic book stories were adapted directly into animated form for the series. They had a lot of source material for this. Carl Barks, The Seven Cities of Cibola, inspired the opening scene of George Lucas's Raiders of the Lost Ark. You can actually YouTube this and see, it is almost a direct take off of it. George Lucas was very inspired by Carl Barks's Uncle Scrooge series. That's what he used as his inspiration when he created the Indiana Jones character and was writing that story. DuckTales did also do a homage to George Lucas, but I don't remember what that was. I'm sorry. I should have wrote that down too. Let's see. This series was credited for paving the way for Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and spin-offs such as Tailspin and Darkwing Duck, both of which Tailspin and Darkwing Duck Launchpad McQuack was in. Number 1. He must work out. Bonus points if you know his civilian name. My son, who is 17, soon to be 18, could only think of the YouTube videos in which this character sings a song that I have not seen. So I might have to go and watch that this weekend. I'll have to have him show me it. He couldn't stop laughing, but he didn't know the guy's main name. Almost out of time. He-Man, aka Adam or Prince Adam. I would accept either one for the bonus points. This cartoon started out as an advertisement for the toys created by Mattel in 1980. It was not until 1982 and hundreds of calls by confused parents later that Mattel okayed the production of the animated cartoon series. Um, which this is another one that's on that Netflix series to watch. It was hilarious the fact that Mattel created these toys and put them out with very little marketing, no backstory. They used wrestling. They had another product line of wrestling toys. They used that product to then create these guys. They just started putting them out and wondered why they weren't selling. Parents didn't know who were the good guys, who were the bad guys, nothing. So they hired these guys to create advertisement to start doing commercials. And then these commercials started becoming more popular. And then these guys went and they wrote all this backstory. The toy characters literally only had names and no stories, which led to mass confusion. So they put all this stuff together. They created this whole He-Man encyclopedia of information, and then the toys just took off, and the advertisement commercials then turned into the He-Man animated series that we have. The first episode appeared on September 5th, 1983, and ran until 1985. It had a successful spin-off, which is She-Ra, Princess of Power, and a not-so-successful live-action adaptation, which we don't really talk about. There has been a lot of talk about a new live-action film, but it keeps getting stalled. So we'll see what happens. All right, now for the bonus question. Do you have what it takes to name this classic 80s cartoon character? Because I was a little upset that they didn't include this on. Did not include this in on the list that I was looking at, and it is my personal favorite 80s cartoon, the one I loved even more than Transformers. I thought the storyline was the best. So let's get on with it. He's famous for two things. Extra bonus points if you can identify those two things. Speed Racer race cars. Yeah, he does kind of look like Speed Racer. And that's a very good guess, but no, that is not Speed Racer. I don't remember what his name was. Was it Steve something? Drove the Mach 5. And nobody told him that Racer X was his father. Oh, I just ruined the clutch. Any other guesses before I finish this quiz out? Three, two, one. Rick Hunter from Robotech. It was a redubbed anime from Japan originally titled Super Dimension Fortress Macross. It first premiered in March of 1985. Yes, a year after the famed Transformers and G.I. Joe and everything. Um, the series was incredibly popular due to its dynamic plot, great characters, and I think that's supposed to say dynamic action, great characters, and gripping plot. I was going cross-eyed at the time last night when I finished this up. It successfully melded three separate animes into one continuing story by adding Super Dimension Cavalry Southern Cross, say that three times fast, and Genesis Climber Mospita to the Macross Saga. Which, if you've seen them, none of them are all the same. They all have different storylines on their own. The problem is that the original Macross series only had 36 episodes, which wasn't enough for a full syndication run. So they added the Southern Cross, which was season 2, and then Genesis Climber Mospita as season 3, basically, for three different stories. So the first story had to do with the alien invasion, and then Southern Cross was the Robotech masters that came in to harvest the flower of life, which brought the Invid, which was the antagonist in Genesis Climber Mospita. Rick's character started out as an innocent bystander coming to visit his older brother, only to be thrust into the midst of an alien invasion where he meets Lin Minmay. So he would later chase after Minmay romantically for the entire series while she chased her dream of being a star. And that was part of the gripping storyline that was there. He missed the person so many times that was always there for him. He also held the record for being shot down more times than any other pilot. And Rick's Veritech Fighter jet toy is the original Skyfire Transformers toy. Oh, so the toys they put out for Robotech looked nothing like what they should have done in the series, or what they did look like in the series. But when Skyfire came out originally for Transformers, it was Rick's red and white Veritech. I was so jealous. A friend of mine in the neighborhood had it, and I didn't. That is the end. Thanks for playing, guys. I really hope you had fun and learned a few things about 80s cartoon characters. As always, it was fun for me. And we will see you guys tomorrow at 10 as we work on finishing up a resume. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy that weather outside.